does it start off from the lowest? Prostitute, then stripper, then escort, then porn, then showgirl? How does that work?
I think they're all interchangeable. And at some point you put nursing school in there.
That's right.
Remember when we first met John McClane? Argyle picked him up from the plane and took him down the Nakatomi Tower at the Christmas party. And the terrorists were overzealous, but it was sweet when they killed Ellis. And with a little help from Alan, John McClane...
Welcome back to Chat the Movies, the podcast where we answer the question, were the movies we love when growing up really that good? Have you ever caught yourself thinking, why did they make movies like they used to? Can you still remember spending your Friday night searching for the perfect movie rental at Blockbuster Video? Do you even remember what Blockbuster Video was? If you answered yes, and this is the podcast for you, I'm one of your three co-hosts, Roger Roper, and alongside me are my two co-hosts, Big D, Dick Ebert.
Good evening.
And Kerri Versace Gross.
I have a problem with pussy. I always have, and I'm always gonna.
And each week, the audience selects from a selection of movie choices that we then break out our race car VHS tape rewinders and watch the movie that tallied the highest number of votes. And at the end of each podcast, the three of us will provide you, the audience, with a number of wipes each movie would take to get off your respective butts. So thank you so much for listening. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and share with a friend. It's how we help the podcast grow. And be sure to check out our sister podcast, Chat on TV, where we review television series such as Taboo, American Gods, Game of Thrones, and Westworld. We're doing Westworld Season 2 right now. You can find all the information on the website, chatontv.com, or you can search iTunes for Westworld Podcast. And that's us. That being said, Big D, what are we doing this evening?
Well, I got to tell you, this category proved a point to me. It was dance movies, and it's why I don't pick the movies anymore, because when this result came out, I was just dumbfounded. I thought there's absolutely no way that Footloose or Dirty Dancing loses. But yes, Footloose, Dirty Dancing, Break Into Electric Boogaloo, Flashdance, Staying Alive, all lost to the classic Showgirls.
Oh, yeah. Oh, without a doubt.
Joke's on us.
Without a doubt, it's a cult classic. Without a doubt, this movie found an audience after it left theaters. It is, it's the kind of movie that plays in theaters similar to Rocky Horror Picture Show and The Room. They have entire screenings where people go to this ironically. It's the Troll 2 of sex movies. Showgirls is a 1995 American erotic drama film directed by Paul Verhoeven. It stars former team actress Elizabeth Berkley of Saved by the Bell fame, MacLachlan, and Gina Gershon. The film centers on a street-smart drifter who ventures into Las Vegas and climbs the seedy hierarchy from stripper to showgirl. The movie was produced for $45 million. Hype surrounding the film's amount of sex and nudity preceded its theatrical release. As a result, Showgirls is the only NC-17 rated film to be given a wide release in mainstream theaters. Audience restriction and poor reviews resulted in the film becoming a box office bomb, grossing just $37 million. Now, despite a negative theatrical and critical consensus, Showgirls enjoyed massive success on the home video market. It generated more than $100 million from video rentals alone, allowing the film to turn a profit and become one of MGM's top 20 all-time bestsellers.
The answer there is because you can't whack off in the local movie theater.
Well,
Unless you're Pee Wee Herman.
Based on the number of people that went and saw this movie, I feel like that probably still happened. The Golden Raspberry cemented that perception by nominating Showgirls in a record 13 categories. Showgirls won a then record-breaking 7 awards for Worst Picture, Worst Director, and Worst Screenplay. Berkley won Worst Actress and Worst New Star. It even won Worst New Song for Walk Into the Wind, also known as the love theme from the rape scene. This movie, we always ask, where were you when you first saw it? We'll start with you, Kerri. Now, Gene could not join us for this, so we've asked back our great friend Kerri Gross, and it couldn't have come at a better time because I really feel like we need a female like opinion of this movie, perception. If it was three guys, it might have gotten uncomfortable really quickly. So with that being said, where were you? Have you seen this movie before?
Well, first, I'm so glad you guys thought of me when you wanted this movie. What year did this movie come out? 95?
95.
Yep.
Okay, so I was like 8 or 9, but a few years after this came out, it was released on VH1 like nighttime.
That's right.
For one whole summer, this movie was played every fucking night, and my dad worked nights. I spent summers with him, and he worked nights, so I watched this movie like every night. But when it was on VH1, it had dubbed overspeak, as I call it. They weren't allowed to have any of like the sexual or vulgar comments on it. And then I don't know if anyone has seen this, but they literally used Microsoft Paint to draw on like neon bikinis on every girl's breast. So I saw it years ago, but now as an adult, it's taken a whole new light.
Yeah, I watched that. I think they call it the dancing bikini. It was before they could really CGI, cost effectively clothes or mustaches, like on.
It's the equivalent of the CGI in the final scene of Blade, like when he fights it's not one of the Baldwin guys. Who's the bad guy in Blade at the end?
They all blur together. I don't.
It doesn't matter.
It's Steven Dorff.
Steven Dorff. That's it. When he fighting Steven Dorff in CGI, like it's that bad of CGI, is what you're saying.
It's terrible. But why would you even try to make this, able to be aired on regular TV? What's the plot? What's her job? How do you can't make this clean for TV. So I don't know what the hell they did to it. Was it a 30-minute movie?
Did you know this movie is banned in Ireland?
It should be banned here.
It should be banned everywhere.
Right.
It's interesting. Elizabeth Berkley actually refused when it was sold to VH1, which, by the way, was the highest bidder. So there was a bidding war for this movie to be shown because it was so salacious. Elizabeth Berkley actually refused to go back into the booth and redub her lines, do ADR. So they just hired another actress because they didn't give a shit. They were like, we're going to air this movie. We don't care about the CGI bikinis. We know people are going to watch it. Young girls who are home alone and don't have fathers, or their fathers are out working late. We have to put this movie on so they can watch it.
I mean, this movie paved the path on how I, envision my own sexuality.
Wow, that's troubling.
Big T, where were you when you watched this movie?
So I'm older than you guys, so this puts me in a weird zone with this movie because I didn't watch Saved by the Bell. So I wasn't infatuated with Elizabeth Berkley. And also at this time, in 95, I was 22, so I had real porn. So there was no real need or desire for me to go see this because I didn't care about her as an actress on TV. And I had the good stuff. But I did love, I'll tell you, before, Basic Instinct. And that thing, yes, I got a copy early. I watched it a bunch of times. I snuck in. So I can understand the desire of, teens at the time to want to sneak in and see their television idol or maybe the girl they had a crush on in this movie that just, it must have blown people's minds back in 95.
Did you work at Blockbuster when this came out?
I must have because I don't remember this coming out, but I remember Basic Instinct coming out.
I was just trying to envision you ringing up, teenage boys, early 20s who have rented this for like the 10th time.
I think these movies are the ones that usually disappear. That someone
never
say,
come
back, right?
Yeah, I rented it, and somebody stole it, or the kid would say, "Mom, I dropped it in the night drop box," and we just never got it. So we'd normally bill them. It just didn't reappear.
I feel like a lot of people would also put in like tapes of other movies and keep this one. They would just take off the label of Showgirls, put that over like another cassette. I wonder how many of that actually happened.
No, that's why we have the safety seals. At Blockbuster, we were high tech.
That's right.
Yep.
I've never seen this movie. This is my first time ever watching Showgirls. I remember it coming out. I remember I remember all the hubbub surrounding it. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was also the most expensive script that was sold at the time because, like you said, the writer of Showgirls also wrote Basic Instinct.
I don't know how the fuck this guy was the highest paid screenwriter in Hollywood because his shit, people are going to say, oh, it's satire. I think it borders on the writings of a horny 15-year-old Roger Roper. This is like what you would write in like letters to the Penthouse Forum.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like every sex scene was written by someone that had never actually had sex.
Yeah, this is I think I texted everyone, this is the least sexy sex movie ever. We talked about this on the Porky's podcast, like how I really got in the mood. I had never seen Porky's, but I remember everyone telling me it's just this giant teen sex fest and all these boobies. And so I went out and, I got a new bottle of lotion and I prepared my evening accordingly. I lit some candles and I'm like, this is going to be some great me time. I did the same for Showgirls because, I hadn't opened up that bottle of lotion because Porky's is terrible. The same thing happened here. Like there's nothing sexy. There's nothing turn on. You talk about Saved by the Bell. I was a huge Saved by the Bell fan. I think partly because of all the Saved by the Bell fans, we didn't want to see like Jesse Spano naked. We wanted to see Kelly Kapowski naked, or maybe, even I'll settle for Mark Paul Gosselaar naked before I'd want to see, Elizabeth Berkley naked. It was just, I think it's shocking to see her because she throws herself into this movie and it produces some wild results.
She looks beautiful. I mean, her body is banging, but
great.
For some reason, you just don't find her sexy at all.
Well, I felt at the end of this movie like I was a sex worker. I was disgusted. I didn't want to look at another naked body. It was awful. I think I need therapy.
Yeah. And not to disparage any sex worker. There's a lot of sex workers out there who are, very proud of what they do and all that. And so I think what we're saying is you do you. If that's just be safe. Anyway, if you haven't watched this movie, now's the time to go and do that. Otherwise, we're going to spoil the hell out of it for you. So with that being said, Big D, play the trailer.
So what are you going to Vegas for? You going to win?
I'm gonna dance.
There's a spot open in the chorus line. We're auditioning tomorrow morning. I think you should try out.
I got an audition!
Okay, ladies, I got one interest here, and that's the show. I don't care whether you live or die. I want to see you dance, and I want to see you smile. I can't use you if you can't smile. I can't use you if you can't show. I can't use you if you can't sell.
From the creators of Basic Instinct, the last time, they took you to the edge. This time, they're taking you all the way.
We take the cash, we cash the check, we show them what they want to see.
You got more natural talent when you dance than anybody I've ever seen.
She's going down to the Stardust. She's going to be in the show.
Right? If someone gets in your way, step on them. It's not fair.
It's not about fair. It's about power. You're a stripper. Don't you get it?
I'm a dancer.
She's dazzling, she's exciting, and she's what Las Vegas is all about.
The passion is real.
I can fall in love with you.
The desire is intense.
You can't touch me, but I can touch you. I'd really love to touch you.
And the show is about to begin. Showgirls. Leave your inhibitions at the door.
Nomi Malone is hitchhiking to Las Vegas hoping to make it as a showgirl. After being robbed by her driver, Nomi meets Molly Abrams, a seamstress and costume designer who takes her to a show where she works. There, Nomi meets topless diva Cristal Connors, who, when Nomi tells Cristal she dances at Cheetah's Topless Club, Cristal calls her a prostitute. When Nomi is too upset to go work that night, Molly takes her dancing at the Crave Club. After getting into a fight with a bouncer at the club, Nomi is arrested. The bouncer then bails her out of jail.
Okay, so Kerri, I'm glad you're with us today because one of the issues I have with this movie is the way that they portray female friends and female relationships. So it's a lot of the inner workings that us as guys, I thought maybe we don't see or possibly doesn't exist, which is what I'm hoping for. But so now we have Nomi gets robbed. She's in Vegas alone. She goes out and just randomly starts beating a parked car. The owner comes out, who we learn then later is Molly. Molly saves her from being hit. Nomi pukes on the side of the road, attempts to fight her. They immediately embrace, almost kiss, and then Molly takes her for dinner. Do women start their relationships this way?
Well, you know, one of my best girlfriends now, we're only friends because she fucked my ex-husband. I mean, we're not only friends because she fucks my ex-husband, but that's how we met. So, I mean, there are instances where you're thrown into situations and then you throw up and try to fight each other in an embrace, and then you paint your nails together while eating a bag of chips and cuddling.
Is there ever a moment, though, like where you looked at each other like really close up and like you looked into her eyes and you looked in and she looked into yours and you almost kissed but didn't?
Every time.
Really? So wait a minute. Did you find out that she's banging your ex-husband? Is that how you know her? Is because she's banging your ex-husband, or she banged in the past? They dated. Okay.
No, they actually dated. That was, you know, vulgar of me to say that, but they actually dated, and then we ended up getting married after that. And so we had this like rivalry, and now we're best friends.
Oh, because you're no longer with him.
Yes, and neither is she.
And then, okay, so you bonded over a sexual relationship with.
I'm saying I could have thrown up in the street and beat up her car.
Yeah.
And then throw my French fries in the air.
No, but you figure she's alone in Vegas. She's got nowhere to go. You might want to be nice to this one person who could potentially help you. And it's all going to go back to, who do we blame for this mess? You know, is it the writing? Is it the directing? Or is it Berkley? You know, I envision this Elizabeth Berkley, when she got this role, she thought, I'm pigeonholed. Everybody thinks of me as this television teen star. I need to break out of this mold. She probably thought this was like her Dallas Buyers Club for McConaughey, a role that she would throw herself into and be taken seriously. But she just can't act. She's spastic. She's over the top. You say one word to her, she flips out. She's always swinging her arms around. Was that just her lack of acting ability, or did they tell her that that's what the character would do?
Well, I read an interview from the director, and he said that he feels solely responsible for her career just like totally dropped. I guess she did dump her agent after this, but the director said he wrote all those lines specifically for her. He wanted her to be portrayed as someone that had a past as like a drug abuser, manic, bipolar. So he felt she executed his idea perfectly. It's just that his idea fucking sucked.
No, I mean, think about it, though. So you're a teen star on a show that's arguably one of the worst shows ever made, Saved by the Bell. But it had such an impact on people who grew up in that era, right? So you're trying to break out. If you told me that you landed the lead role in what would become like the talk of the town movie, written by and directed by the guy who made Basic Instinct, the writer of Basic Instinct, the director of Basic Instinct, the director of other great movies like RoboCop, Paul Verhoeven at the time was lauded as one of like the most, sought after directors to work with. If you told me that was going to be my role, like, especially coming on the heels of something like Basic Instinct, I would have been, you don't turn that on that role. I would have totally done it.
So I have another possibility here. This may be the most epic troll in Hollywood history. Because the plot revolves around a prostitute who wants to be taken seriously as a dancer. She wants to better her life. She wants to move up.
That's right.
That's also Elizabeth Berkley. She is the TV pop star who wants to be taken seriously, who wants to elevate herself. But just like Nomi, she can't carry the weight. Elizabeth Berkley got paid $100,000 for this role. It destroyed her. That's it. It destroyed her career. It's almost like Elizabeth Berkley was placed in this role to be the living embodiment of Nomi Malone.
How did she only get paid $100,000 for this? Doesn't make any sense.
It's going to be her big breakout role. Exactly. That's why you fire your manager.
So I fire my manager over that. Okay. That makes sense.
I feel like I need to defend her acting ability since Big D has never seen Saved by the Bell. There is a scene in one episode where Jesse Spano gets addicted to diet pills.
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen this one, Raj?
It's a famous scene.
And she's dancing. Yeah. I'm so excited. Yeah. So, I mean, this movie ruined her career. She had a lot of acting capability.
Yeah. I mean, they knew what they were getting.
Yeah. Forget about acting ability. This movie's about dancing. Shouldn't they have gotten somebody who could dance?
Exactly.
I think she does a fine job dancing. She
looks like she's having
it doesn't matter. I feel like there's nothing. I'm watching her with other dancers, And I'm like, there's nothing different that I see from what she's doing to what the other dancers are doing. And she's doing
okay,
it
the choreographed dancing on stage is different, but the dancing when she's at that fucking club, when Molly takes her to the club, is like, let's go out dancing. She looks like, and I'm a nurse, she looks like she's having a fucking seizure on the dance floor.
Yeah,
it is not sexy at all.
No, I thought she was at the Crave Club. I thought she was having a grand mal seizure. I was waiting. I was waiting for her just to start like go on the ground, start foaming. Even what's the guy's name? James Smith comes over and he goes, "Yeah, I'm gonna teach you to dance." And she just says, "Oh, I don't need nobody to teach me to dance." I immediately said, double negatives, fail. And yes, you do need somebody to teach you to dance.
And then she kicks him in the balls.
Yeah, but this movie goes off the rails quicker than that. When she gets into the car, into the truck with that Elvis-looking character in whatever mountain town that she's in, whether that's Utah or Colorado, I don't know where she is. But she gets in and immediately, like, is just manic over this fucking guy. And I guess it makes sense at the end when we learn a little bit more about her character. But, Kerri, you said you watched this with your ex-boyfriend who was high, and he was manically laughing the entire time. I was not high, but still found the humor in its absolute ridiculousness in its opening scenes. Typically, you think a movie's just going to be bad just by watching it all, and it takes you the full 2 hours to get there. This movie, it's going to be bad within the first 5 minutes.
The first 5 minutes, it was literally the worst movie I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And it just perpetually got worse and worse. The only thing I found that I could relate to Nomi in is when she gets in the truck. I mean, after she has that guy at knife point, she changes the radio station because Garth Brooks is playing.
I hate Garth Brooks.
I hate Garth Brooks, but it's Sisters of Mercy that she changes it to. And as, little goth girl, it's my favorite band.
Right.
That's the only thing in this movie that I was like, okay, I like that.
But God, also, I'm not an expert in street signs or highway markings. Do they normally list cities that are more than 360 miles away from your current location?
They do out west. Especially big cities.
And I think they do for Vegas. Yeah.
Yeah, for Vegas they do.
Okay, so that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. But did you guys also know Jenny McCarthy was in the running? You talk about how bad Elizabeth Berkley. Jenny McCarthy was well down the role and was being heavily considered for this role. But she was turned away because she could not dance. So you wonder how many actresses around that time outside of Elizabeth Berkley were the studio's first choice until they realized she couldn't dance, which makes me feel better that Elizabeth Berkley got this because she did have some sort of talent when it came to dancing. And I think that she throws herself into it.
Literally throws herself back and forth.
That's right. Yeah. Cristal, played by Gina Gershon, and her boyfriend Zack, played by Kyle MacLachlan, the entertainment director at Stardust, visit Cheetahs and request a lap dance from Nomi. Nomi reluctantly performs a lap dance after Cristal offers her $500 to do it. Which, by the way, that's the going rate now if you want a private dance. The movie has not aged well when it comes to the economies of scale at a strip club. James happens to be at the strip club as well and witnesses the lap dance. He says what Nomi is doing is no different from prostitution.
So, the movie talks about Nomi's progression and her search for stardom. It seems like each level of the stratosphere of the sex worker industry looks down on the other. So I want to just talk to you guys and see what you think the correct architecture is. Does it start off from the lowest? Prostitute, then stripper, then escort, then porn, then showgirl? How does that work?
I think they're all interchangeable. And at some point you put nursing school in there.
No, because look, the showgirls clearly look down on strippers, but they look down on even prostitutes more.
What you're talking about is if I was a showgirl, if I was an entertainer, would I look down on people who did porn or stripping or were prostitutes? What's the difference between a prostitute and an escort?
Well, prostitute walks the street. It is Pretty Woman.
Okay.
And then escort, you have, a madam. It's a higher price clientele. And usually I think they're held in a different view of other sex workers.
So it's the amount of money you're paying for the sex.
I think it's the quality.
I don't think you're giving. Yeah, there's going to events and dinners and being bought nice things, and then there's giving a blowjob in a car for $5.
Yep.
Yeah, okay, but like this is a very American way of looking at sex workers. If you go to Europe, if you've been overseas, I mean, it's more regulated, it's more safe, it's not viewed upon in the same taboo light that it is here in America. So to answer your question, I think, based upon what this movie tells us, at least the American viewpoint is, a showgirl is someone who is talented, is maybe doing Broadway shows, and just happens to take her top off. Like, I've been to Zumanity at, the Cirque du Soleil show that's a little bit more adult themed. Like, they're the same quality of gymnasts and dancers that every other Cirque du Soleil show. Obviously, they're at the top of the pyramid, right?
Yeah, I mean, I found that the dancing and the costumes and the stage sets were all entertaining. I don't think it'd be personally a show that I would go to Vegas to see, but I do see what they are going after. I just found it very funny that anytime you looked at the audience, the whole front row was just like little old white-haired women. Did anyone else notice? It was like all grandmas.
Well, they went.
Is that all?
They were in Vegas and they were like, we need extras.
We're filming a movie.
Who wants to join us? And it's all the old women that were there playing the penny slots.
They're shooting at like 10 a.m.
Right, 100%.
But this isn't like just a theater with people having drinks. This is a full dinner show. I don't want to be sitting having a 4-course meal with like just crotches right in front of me. It's some primordial, creation scene.
That's only if the G-strings break, which apparently they do all the time, and you're just seeing snatch. That's what they call it in the movie. That's not my words. I'm quoting the movie. They literally say the word snatch multiple times, even coining the phrase smiling snatch.
Well, I don't know how it is in different states, but in here in Arizona, certain strip clubs, the rules on nudity depend on whether they serve food and or alcohol. So they can only serve alcohol at strip clubs that just show breasts, but they can show full nudity at places that serve meals, which I find so bizarre. Like, first of all, who wants to eat food from a strip club? And also, do I want to be eating a ribeye while someone's snatch is hanging out?
You've obviously never been to Cafe Risque, just outside of Gainesville, Florida, where it is literally described as the Waffle House with breasts. You can go in there and get a quality breakfast, some flapjacks, while you look at other female flapjacks. Like, they get off of stage and serve you sausage and bacon.
So you talked about in other countries how they treat their sex workers. We are treated to the auditions at the Cheetah Club, or the employee orientation. I understand they're trying to really make a point about how women are treated in the entertainment industry, but come on, it starts with the poor girl named Penny. Oh no, she's Hope. Her name is Hope. Her poor girl named Hope.
But no one wants
her
to.
real name is Penny.
Her real name is Penny. No one wants to have sex with a penny. They want to have sex with Hope.
They want to have sex with a Hope.
Right.
But at least, hey, break them in that the job's going to be somewhat enjoyable. But the boss, who I forget his name, he says,
Al. He's Al.
Yeah, if you stay here longer than a week, you're going to give me a blowjob. First, I'll get you used to the money, and then I'll make you swallow. Does that make people want to stay, or I'd want to leave at that point?
Well, this movie has this movie has more one-liners than Spaceballs. Like, it's over the top, and I think that's intentional. I think that, and there's a lot of people who agree with this assessment. This movie is satire, Verhoeven satire at its finest. I think he's obviously, we know that the movie has a story arc that is supposed to be, a little bit of female empowerment, and it's done in a little campy. It's done in the campiest of ways, but it's totally 100% a satire on the entertainment industry.
I don't believe that at all. I think this was intentionally
Look at
serious.
Her name. Her name is what?
Hold on.
What is
Can
her
I
name?
just say one thing?
What is her name?
Just listen.
Listen to me.
What is her name? Is Penny.
No. Not Penny's name.
Oh.
Nomi?
Nomi, meaning
no.
There's no me. Like, she's empty. There's no her. Like, she does.
Oh my God.
There's no me.
No.
And Malone, I'm alone. No me.
No.
I'm alone. That's the reason.
No,
for
I
her
read
name.
an interview. He actually named her after his wife, who was Naomi, and her nickname was Nomi.
Exactly. And always,
It's
you got
no
listen.
me.
You're thinking too
I'm
deep.
alone.
Yes. Listen,
No, you're going too deep.
You're
You're
crazy.
going too deep.
This movie is a brilliant satire on the entertainment industry. That's why she's going to Los Angeles right after this.
You're going deeper than a 10-inch dick
This
right now.
movie.
She looks better than a 10-inch dick, and you know it.
This movie This movie, I think, spurred on the whole Me Too movement. I think that this movie, Verhoeven and the screenwriter knew what was going on behind the scenes in these Hollywood parties, which is the whole reason for that out of the blue rape scene that we'll get to. But they knew that this was happening, so they made a giant movie about it.
Oh, so they made a lot of actresses in Hollywood, reenact these terrible traumatic scenes.
Yeah.
As a way to bring light to it. You're fucking high. But the Cheetah Club, it looks kind of high end for the far end of the strip. Girls look okay. But then they have Henrietta.
Henrietta's the best part of this movie.
Yeah, like a transvestite kind of MC. I've been to a few strip clubs in my life, and I've never seen a comedic transvestite MC.
I don't think that's a transvestite. I think Henrietta is a woman.
No, she's a woman.
That's a woman.
Oh, I don't know about that.
That's
it's
a woman.
A woman.
Big D, that's a woman.
Ooh.
It's kind of like Divine.
Yeah.
Are you
right?
sure?
Yes.
This is the kind of strip club that I would actually go to.
God.
I want to watch someone get up there and just talk shit to everybody.
That is a woman. Her name is Lynn
very
Tucci.
weird, though.
Did you not know that she was a woman?
I swear, I thought it was a man.
Big D. That's horrible. We have female listeners who are unsubscribing right now.
No, they're not.
I see where you may have made that mistake, because at one point Al says he calls her Henry. So that got me, like, I was like, wait a minute, I'm pretty sure that's a female, but maybe I'm wrong, and maybe that's the joke. Maybe I didn't get it. But no, that is truly a female actress playing the role of Henrietta. She's like the boss. She's really embracing. I think if there's any message of female empowerment, it's totally a Henrietta. The only thing that I don't like about the movie, which I think is making it satire of, is the way that she goes out and rules the stage. She goes out by insulting men, by insulting herself. She's like, I'm gonna have to pee on you so you can find it because I'm so fat. Like, is that?
That's true, though. Honestly,
is that really what would happen?
So, how do you think Henrietta felt as an actress saying
she misses us like that lump on my twat I had taken off last week?
I think Henrietta actually is probably a vaudeville performer in that same manner, which is how they found her.
Yeah, I was guessing that this might be a character that she actually portrays somewhere in some seedy club, like Divine.
Right, exactly.
Okay, so you guys have known Gene longer than I have. We are introduced to Zack at this part of the movie. He comes into the Cheetah Club, gets a lap dance. He's got that kind of flock of seagulls swooping hairdo. Mm-hmm. He's always smizing. He's seeming kind of aloof. I really got the vibe, and I texted you guys, and Gene didn't like it. But I feel if Gene had gone preppy instead of goth, this is what we would have ended up with.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. Or if he had been an entertainment director for a casino in Vegas, that would be his look.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I don't know. I guess maybe because I'm such a huge fan of Kyle MacLachlan that I just can't separate the two to envision Gene in that role. But I was
You're a big Twin Peaks fan.
Yeah, I mean, Twin Peaks is my thing. I love David Lynch. He used Kyle MacLachlan a lot. And when I saw him in here, I was like, oh, fuck, I forgot he's in this. It's going to be so bad, so bad. And it is. I mean, he is awful. The whole movie, every actor is awful in this. But I was reading interviews. I wanted to see what he has said about it since, all these years later. And he said that the first time he was viewing it, that he was like, oh my God, this movie is horrible. And then he tried to distance himself from it. And now he appreciates it only out of satire, and that it provides entertainment, but not how it was originally intended.
Yeah, so there's a theory that I want to float by you. I'm not a big Twin Peaks fan. I don't get David Lynch, so I don't know what this means, but maybe you can decipher it for me. There's a theory on Reddit that Zack from Showgirls, Kyle MacLachlan's character, is actually just bad Cooper, and he decided to create Dougie before he left, and that's why Dougie lives in Vegas, and there's no record of him before 1996. Does that mean anything to you?
Well, I mean, now if you're talking about the newer Twin Peaks where, I don't see it. I hate it so much. I hate him in this movie so much that I want to pretend like it's somebody else.
I love Kyle MacLachlan in Portlandia. I think he's great as the mayor.
But Raj, you've been to some strip clubs and gotten a couple lap dances.
I have. I was just in Myrtle Beach. where it seems as if everyone is somehow getting paid by the dollhouse. Everyone in that town has free passes, and they're always asking. If you're in a group of more than 4 guys, they're trying to get you to go to the dollhouse.
So how would you rate the lap dance that Nomi provides Zack? I thought it looked like, again, she was having a seizure.
Oh, definitely. Like
you're going to break a dick doing that.
It seems... I had to make sure I was still watching Showgirls and not the exorcism of Emily Rose. Because that's how manic her lap dance is. But then before that, when she's like doing her like dancing, and I'm like, wow, Elizabeth Berkley's really going for it. Again, this is 15 minutes into the movie. She's like doing it all sexy, and I'm like, oh, maybe I will break out the Jergens. Then she licks the pole.
Oh, no.
Licking the pole in a strip club is the grossest thing in the world anyone could ever do. We did experience this in real life when we were at the Dollhouse in Myrtle Beach, and it immediately killed any kind of sexual appetite I had that evening, because you think of all the oils and everyone that's,
not even
that's
oil.
Grinding their bodies up on that like
vagina
like,
juice.
I always know when someone is a professional, and this is not her first time. When she goes up, she takes her towel, she rubs some rubbing alcohol on it, and wipes the pole. That's how you know someone is like, bam, this is going to be badass. She knows what she's doing, and she doesn't fucking lick the pole. I don't know who told Elizabeth Berkley, like, this is what you need to do. But again, going back to my earlier theory that this is satire, hear me out. She's so dumb throughout the entire movie, right? She's this manic bipolar, character who is getting by on her naivety, but her expressions of confidence and her ignorance. So is the movie trying to tell us, of course she's going to lick a pole because she's trying to be overconfident, but she really doesn't know what the fuck she's doing.
This fucking movie's not Amistad. What are you trying to read into this? There's no hidden message.
There's a slave scene in this movie. It's totally Amistad.
No. No, there is. When she's dancing with Cristal, and then she pushes her down the stairs. Yeah. That's to show how the slaves escaped in Amistad.
It's not satire. They were intending for this to be a serious, sexy movie, and they fucking failed miserably. When she makes eye contact, when she's dancing on the pole and she first sees Cristal and Zack together, and she like makes eye contact and then jerks that pole really hard and then gets off the stage, I'm like, what the fuck is going on? This is the least sexy movie I've literally ever seen ever.
The first half of this movie was intended to be a dark comedy because there's these amazing one-liners, like when Elizabeth Berkley's character gets off of stage and like she's all like manic and angry, and because she sees Kyle MacLachlan and Gina Gershon in the audience, there's another stripper that just throws out great lines.
Yeah, I mean, she goes into the dressing room and then just one of the girls in the back is like, do you guys want to come back to my house and smoke some dope? I'm like, what the fuck? What are these one-liners? It's supposed to be a very serious, sexy movie, and then the dialogue is just fucking shit. It's so bad. You want to smoke some dope?
Yeah, it's so bad. Yeah, and I feel like when you go to an adult entertainment establishment, I think it's more classy than this. There are some places that are not the greatest, but I think for the most part, especially in Vegas, those things are like well-oiled machines, and those women are out there getting paid. Like they're not doing stuff like making guys come for big tips. At the end, they're not giving blowjobs to their hotel managers.
Must be weird not having anybody come on you.
Yeah, it's much classier than that. There's a lot of rules. There's cameras everywhere. Again, I think that this movie is clearly not trying to depict what really goes on. I think it's trying to be over the top, which it's accomplishing, but I don't think that most audiences understand that they're supposed to be in on the joke. So Cristal arranges for Nomi to audition for a chorus line. The show's director humiliates Nomi by asking her to put ice on her nipples and make them hard. Furious, Nomi leaves the audition and again runs into James, who says he has written a dance number for her. Despite her outburst at the audition, Nomi gets the job and quits Cheetahs. Cristal further humiliates Nomi by suggesting she will make a goodwill appearance at a boat trade show, which turns out to be a thinly disguised form of prostitution.
This movie made me feel something I've never felt my entire life. I was actually asking for somebody to put a t-shirt on.
Right.
There are so many just jiggling boobs. Everyone's running around. The girls are giggling. They're screaming. It made me hate breasts. Only momentarily, but it made me hate breasts.
The nudity doesn't even make sense half of this movie. Like they really don't need to be naked this much.
No, they're naked for no reason. And it made me feel uncomfortable. I felt bad for the actors and actresses behind the scene.
Actually, they're on record. They asked, was it uncomfortable being topless the entire time or most of the movie? The actresses are on record by saying no. In fact, they made the whole set a comfortable experience, but the only time that they were uncomfortable was during the monkey in the backstage, which again, do not have anything to do with the plot whatsoever, or the girls' kids. Like where one of the girls is like clutching like her little bear, and then the other girls are saying like, get the fucking kids out of here and fuck your kids and fuck this. I'm like,
why are there children back there?
Why are there children back there? You know what I mean? Like, you halfway expected the little boy to be like smoking a cigarette like a young Frank Sinatra.
Listen, maybe it was bring your kids to work day, and you two don't have any idea the price of childcare. It's expensive. Sometimes you got to bring them. But the whole audition process is ridiculous.
Thrust it! Thrust it! Thrust it! Thrust it! Come on, thrust it!
Thrust it! Thrust it! Oh, what's wrong with your nipples? Pinch them. Yeah, you need me to do it? I'm erect. Why aren't you? This made me feel dirty. I felt sexually harassed as a viewer.
Again, it's the Me Too movement. This is a satire of the casting process in Hollywood.
Yeah, welcome to the world of women, Big D.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
I also like how she's like, when do you think I'll be in the show? And they're like, tonight. And I'm like, oh, so you ran through one rehearsal and now you're good. You're on the fucking show. I'm pretty sure this is not how that works.
This is before Cirque du Soleil took over Vegas.
Yeah, but also she's only practicing with the other women. When the stage show comes on, there's other dudes and there's lifts and there's throws. And I was like,
right.
You just going to like...
And she had no professional training at all. She came from a stripper to a showgirl and kills it on her first night.
Oh, kills it.
She's a natural. The thing that really bothers me though is outside of the kids, the way that they throw around women's menstruation in this movie. It's almost as if they don't understand how women's menstruation work.
Because it was written by a 15-year-old boy.
That's right.
So what the fuck is the deal with this James dude? He keeps popping in and out of the movie on this like moral high ground, telling Nomi what she should and shouldn't be doing with her life. He calls her a prostitute. He accuses her of fucking, Zack in the lap dance, and gives her shit about all of it. But then she catches him with some girl in his warehouse. And he's like, well, we don't have any ties.
Yeah, she was with Penny.
Yeah, it's Hope.
Yeah.
The new dancer.
Penny.
Yeah,
he's walking around, but he's fucking strippers in his warehouse telling everyone the same line. Like, why is he here being the moral high ground of...
Exactly. I don't want to take financial advice from somebody who's homeless or workout advice from somebody who's 500 pounds. James fucking lives in an abandoned warehouse, and his philosophy on life is everybody's got AIDS and shit. This is not somebody who should be mentoring young dancers. My warning bells went off, and she should not be anywhere near this clown.
Well, and then he later says he's getting married to Penny, and she's like, oh, do you love her? And he's like, well, she's having a kid.
That's right. I stole the ring from her grandmother. Like,
I'm going to work in the supermarket. It's owned by the family.
Like, it's a total trope, the James character, right? The James character is supposed to be, in other movies, like the Ducky of the movie. He's supposed to be the guy that, really cares about her and really is trying to give her really sage advice and try and prevent her from going into this world. And he's trying to teach her the underbelly and the seediness of this world and why she shouldn't do it. I don't feel like they did justice to the character. Like, if you're going to have a trope like that in a movie, why give James all these terrible scenes like of like when she catches him with Hope, or during the whole like lap dance scene? Like, I don't get why they would do that to a character who's obviously supposed to be there for a moral high ground.
Yeah, he sucks. Can I also just say, Father of the Year award, we're recording a movie about Showgirls, and Big D's daughter just walked in and is waving at us on camera while we're talking about this NC-17 movie. Hi, baby.
Yeah.
Bring your kids to work day.
Yeah, she didn't watch it with me.
That's right. Well, Nomi sets out to get revenge against Cristal and claim her mantle. She seduces Zack, who secures an audition for her to be Cristal's understudy. Nomi wins the role, but the offer is rescinded due to Cristal getting jealous and getting her lawyers involved. After Cristal gloats and taunts Nomi at a performance, Nomi pushes her down a flight of stairs, and Cristal breaks her hip. Unable to perform, Cristal is replaced by Nomi as the show's lead.
Can we talk about the conversation right before this happens where they're at Caesar's Palace and Cristal wants to buy her lunch and she orders a bottle of Cristal and blah, blah, blah. This is some of the worst fucking acting and dialogue I've seen in a movie ever. They literally at one point are talking about eating dog food and Elizabeth Berkley's like, I used to love doggy chow too.
Well, listen, I don't want to shortchange because a lot of people haven't watched this movie. So I normally don't do this and I want to break in, but I'm going to play this scene for our listeners, and then we'll come back to it because this scene deserves to be talked about.
There's only really true one way to understand the gravity of how terrible this movie is, and that's by playing you a clip. So I completely agree.
Here we go.
I've had dog food.
You have?
Mm-hmm. Long time ago. Doggy chow. I used to love doggy chow.
I used to love doggy chow too.
Okay. On so many levels, were they trying to like bond over their past experience of struggling?
That's right.
We both came from nowhere. We're both poor. We both ate dog food.
That's right.
I don't get it.
That's right.
I was torn between what was worse in this scene, the amount of lip liner and Vaseline on their teeth, or the fact that they were talking about eating dog food.
But what's weird is the polar, it gets manic. 1 second they'll be bonding. Next second she'll be like, I used to love doggy chow. You fucking whore. And she's like, what? And then, Elizabeth Berkley will throw something across the table. Then they'll almost kiss. Then they'll fight again.
That's how women interact in real life, Big D. That's why they love brunch so much.
I had a friend say there's a fun drinking game when you watch this movie. Anytime Nomi throws a fit and storms out of a room somewhere, you take a drink. And by the end of the movie, you're sloshed.
No, end of the movie, I'd be drunk at this point. We're about halfway through.
Yeah. So again, this is the most expensive at the time, most expensive screenplay. Do you think that that dialogue for that scene was written down? Or do you think Paul Verhoeven said, why don't you improv some lines?
No, I read in the interview that he did not want any improving. He wanted them to say the lines word for word. So he wrote this entire fucking garbage.
Not Verhoeven. Who's the screenwriter, Big D?
It's Esterhaus.
Esterhaus and Verhoeven. This is why you don't let the Dutch win.
So we know that Esterhaus has a problem accurately describing female relationships.
Uh-huh.
What do we think about this supposed romantic? Finally we have Nomi decides that she's going to go after Zack. That whole encounter at his mansion, it takes her all of 30 seconds to get naked.
Yeah.
She decides to go into the pool.
Sure.
I've had sex in the pool, first of all.
Yeah.
It's not as easy, because am I correct, Kerri? The orifices of your body, they tend to swell up to protect from water intrusion. Doesn't the vagina do the same thing?
Well, and there's and then you're just pumping pool water into the vaginal canal. That whole scene, I'll tell you as a nurse, I don't recommend having sex in a swimming pool. It's a sure ticket for a yeast infection or a UTI. But also, he just dumps an entire bottle of $300 champagne on top of her while she's already in the pool. That doesn't make any fucking sense.
No, but he's got money. I'm just going to pour some Cristal on you. And she calls it Cristal, even though it's Cristal. Do you think that Cristal is also supposed to be Gina Gershon's? The character name is... it's supposed to be Cristal because it's spelled like Cristal.
How the fuck are you talking about the name of the drink when she is jackhammering his dick in the pool?
Because that's more interesting than her... She looks like the T-1000 when it's pushed into the pit of lava in that steel factory in Terminator 2. She's thrashing around. She's turning into different characters of the movie. At one point, she turns into Molly, and then into Pollyann, and then into Hope and Penny. That's what she's doing.
It looked like Shark Week. It
did look like she was having a seizure in the water and nearly dying.
And unfortunately, there have been people in my life who... I don't know if they got their impression of sex from porn, and they think just grabbing it and going as fast as they can is something I would enjoy. That's friction. That's heat. Ladies don't do that, and we don't enjoy it. And this scene did not look pleasurable. I think they both probably got a yeast infection out of this one.
I was surprised when I read the interview that Kyle MacLachlan was so horrified the first time he saw the movie, because I'm like, weren't you fucking present when she was having a seizure on your dick?
You
and
were
you
just
thought this movie was going to be great?
Scene. Yes.
Yeah. How did you not know this was going to be an awful movie?
This wasn't your first fucking movie. If he showed up on set and there was a clown, a turtle, a lawn chair, a spatula, and some Cool Whip, and they start wrestling with a monkey in the background, I'd be like, this scene might be bad. This movie might be bad. It was a shit show.
She was literally on his lap while she was thrashing her head around into the water, having a grand mal seizure, and he was horrified when he saw it on the big screen.
He was probably horrified seeing her on his lap. But at this point in the movie, we have Nomi, who's been she's the hero character. She's gonna become a star. She does one bump of coke and she goes full evil.
That's right. That's what happens when you do coke, kids. Don't do drugs.
Yep.
Molly attends Nomi's opening night celebration where she meets her idol, Andrew Carver, the musician. Carver lures Molly into a room where she is raped by Carver and his 2 bodyguards. Nomi wants to prosecute Carver, but Zack tells her that the Stardust will buy her silence. Zack then confronts Nomi with the details of her past. Her real name is Polly, and she became a runaway and prostitute after her father murdered her mother and then killed himself. Zack blackmails Nomi by vowing to keep her past quiet if she will not press charges for Molly's assault.
Okay, so let's start here at the party. So she willingly goes up to the room with Andrew.
Mm-hmm.
He was going to have sex with her.
You're talking about Molly?
Yeah. Molly goes up to the room with Andrew Carver.
Yes.
She's ready to get it on.
Right.
Why did this all of a sudden turn into this giant, fuck her, yeah, throw her down? And he punches her in the face? Why?
She went up to the room with him, and then as soon as the door shut, there's like 2 of his bodyguards that are like, pin her down, rip her clothes off, fuck her. It's like, she was going to willingly fuck him. I don't understand why they raped her.
You didn't need to punch her in the face.
But can we talk about, okay, so Nomi gets to be the understudy and has one performance, and it becomes like the biggest fucking news in Las Vegas. Every news channel's there.
That's right.
All these reporters. She gets her own party. The party has fucking fanfare, trumpet players, fireworks, for fuck's sakes. This party literally cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, and all she did was perform one Las Vegas Strip show.
That's right.
Yeah, God, I work in marketing. Do you know what lead time you need to produce banners of that size or some of that marketing material and get it up on the strip?
They had her name in lights.
Yes.
They unveiled her name in like light bulbs.
And also, this isn't like they joked earlier on that they were going to get Janet Jones or Cyndi Lauper to come in.
Janet Jones. You mean
no? I said
Janet Jackson.
Yeah, Janet Jackson. I was thinking like Jenna Jameson. No, this is
Paula Abdul. We could have had Paula Abdul.
At least you didn't say Jenny Jones. No one wants to see
this
that.
This is a
unless she's replacing
second-rate
Henrietta.
stage show.
Right.
This is a second-rate stage show. I felt like I was on a cruise ship. They got the Harleys driving on stage. When did we miss Nomi being trained to ride a motorcycle? You know?
She didn't need to. She did one dance and she's ready to go.
She's a natural, guys. That's what you don't get. She has all this natural talent.
But so now the whole rape scene goes down.
Right.
Molly stumbles out right into the party.
They let her go.
Yeah.
3 men raped her, beat her bloody, and then let her go back to the party.
This serves no purpose in the plot or the development of Nomi's character. Maybe one could argue that once she sees her friend raped, she realizes how terrible this industry is and she has to escape. She has to get out of it. Otherwise, she's going to be another victim. You could argue that, but
it's her fucking
fault. That's right.
Hold on, and I want to be clear. It's not Molly's fault she's raped.
No, it's not Molly's fault. It's Nomi for putting her friend in that situation.
Yes. Nomi was just sexually harassed by Andrew Carver.
Knowingly. That's right.
Yes, knowingly turned around, smiled, and then threw her friend to the wolves.
That's fucked up.
Yeah, it's, again, fucked up female friends.
So
that's
for her to have
satirical.
any type of for her to have any kind of mental anguish over this when she knowingly, sociopathically, or maybe it was one of her bipolar characters, I don't know what this movie is going for, but it makes no sense to have it in the flick, and it's shocking because the entire movie is a schlock fest, and then there's a very real, authentic rape scene that is extremely uncomfortable.
I think she knew that like he might have been like a slimy guy, but I don't think she knew that he was going to rape her friend. I think her friend just wanted to fuck him. She's like, yeah, this guy's kind of a creep, but go for it. I don't think she knew that 3 guys were going to pin her down and rape her at a fucking party.
Well, it obviously didn't bother her enough that she doesn't want to go to the police, that she fucking takes the buyout, that she doesn't care enough about her friend to actually do the right thing and get her help. She gets revenge, but that's not what Molly needs. Nomi is too worried about her past, which I don't understand. Her past was prostitution, a couple arrests, her parents dying.
Yeah.
How is that worse than what she's been doing in Vegas? What's she embarrassed about?
Did they imply that she attempted to kill somebody? Did I hear him say that? Like attempted murder?
Oh, it was like assault with a weapon.
Assault with a weapon, right.
So maybe she did have something darker than that. But I think what she was more afraid of was losing her star role on the Vegas Strip. If she called the police, she would have been fired.
But then she leaves anyway. So what's...
Exactly.
Like, I would get the movie more as if she accepts the buyout as acceptance of the fame that she's achieved. And then you see her on stage again that night, and the expression on her face is that the show must go on. If you really want to be a big star, you have to be willing to do these things. I get it if they ended the movie like that, but they don't. They end the movie with her back in the same car with the same guy, the same truck rather, that she got into to begin with, and she's like, "Where's my fucking suitcase?" as they drive towards Los Angeles. Like, it doesn't make sense. There's no story arc.
So, Kerri, question here as a nurse. If you have a woman show up, obviously beaten, and then you tell the friend she has a broken nose and vaginal tears, wouldn't that set up some bells and whistles for an automatic rape kit and call the police?
Well, you can't do anything automatic without consent. But for sure they would call the police and report it as a possible rape or abuse, but she would have to consent to everything. But clearly she was raped. They know that. And they they don't.
So someone shows up with a broken nose. Is the next step you check for vaginal tearing?
No, so it's a real thing. So I had a young family member.
It's a real thing.
No,
it's a real thing.
This really happened. So I had a young family member who was playing. My parents have a pool, so my young cousin was playing with all of our cousins over at a family gathering. She slipped. They were running over by the pool. She slipped, and when she went into the pool, her legs were spread, and she hit her pubis bone on the edge of the pool. They had to take her to the hospital. As a result of that injury, the doctors, they had to call in the police and a social worker, and they interviewed all the family members, all the male family members, including the female adults, my mom, to ask what happened. What's the real story? And all of them had the same story.
Well, because that story kind of sounded like bullshit.
Yeah,
I slipped and fell and hit my vagina on the pool. But I actually, in the 5th grade, broke my hymen on the monkey bars. I was standing on top of the monkey bars and fell and landed just like that. Same story. But nobody called the police because nobody cares in a small town.
Yeah. Well, Nomi gets Carver alone in his hotel room and beats him bloody. Nomi visits the hospital where Cristal admits she pulled a similar stunt to get cast in the lead of a show years before. Because of her world weariness and the fact that her lawyers managed to secure a large cast settlement, Cristal forgives Nomi and they exchange a kiss. Nomi leaves Las Vegas and hitches a ride back to Los Angeles, coincidentally with the same driver who stole her possessions when she arrived.
Thank God this movie turned into the fucking Avengers or Kill Bill 2.
Yeah.
She becomes Black Widow, Van Damme, does a couple roundhouse kicks.
Yeah.
She's incompetent with everything she does. I wouldn't have faith in her to knock out some strapping dude and his bodyguards. What the fuck were they doing?
This movie is the inspiration for Atomic Blonde.
Well, and he just sits there and takes it. He just sits there and she just kicks him over and over and over again. And then he's laying on the floor bleeding from his mouth. And she's like, he wants to sleep a little bit longer.
You didn't hear furniture breaking?
That's right. Exactly.
Because they were out there talking about how they were going to have to hide the rape they did the night before.
Ugh.
But what was all over her nipples? What was that?
Yeah, that was very strange, right?
I'm glad you guys noticed. You guys noticed too?
I thought it was like, because he goes to bite it, and I was like, did she put some, remember the fruit roll-ups as kids that used to have? It looked like she put on a pair of like cherry-flavored fruit roll-ups to cover her nipples.
It looked like 2 slices of salami.
Right.
I thought she was going to try to poison him. Like she knew he had a peanut allergy, and she'd like rub them on his nipples.
Oh, that would have been a lot better.
He would lick them. He'd go into anaphylactic shock. He'd seize up and die.
Yeah.
And that way she could play, he was just sucking on my titties. I didn't know he was allergic to peanut butter.
Yeah, it's strange because we've seen her nipples throughout the entire movie, and then they're supposed to trick us by saying, no, this is really what her nipples look like? Come on, Verhoeven.
It looked like when you eat those hot Cheetos. You know the Cheetos, the flaming Cheetos?
Yeah.
And you get the things on your...
And then you get red fingers.
So maybe somebody was eating the Cheetos and then just started beep, 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 beep.
Is that what that's the sound that you make when you rub your nipples, Big D? Just beep, 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 like Morse code?
Yes.
Yeah, all right. Well, that's the end of the movie. I don't understand the scene in the hospital. I mean, I understand that they're trying to get across that like this is how you make it in the business and all that.
Stop justifying it. Stop justifying it.
But all right, let me ask you this: did anyone else feel Gina Gershon's character, what Cristal is doing, is she's passing the torch to Nomi? She's like, I'm getting out. I've got my settlement. I don't have to do this anymore. I've lived your life. I get it. I forgive you. Let me kiss you and pass the torch on to you.
Okay, instead of kissing her and passing the torch, she might have gone to the police to actually help get justice for her friend who was gang raped.
That's right.
Well, and what are the fucking odds that she gets the same creep picking her up on the side of the road? What bullshit is this?
Can we pass the torch to the Shat meter score, please?
Do you think that in her suitcase, it's her soul, similar to Pulp Fiction?
That's the funniest thing you've said all day.
Now's the time where we break out our Shat meters and give you our Shat score. If you've never listened to the podcast before, 0 wipes is a perfect movie. 5 wipes is Showgirls. That being said, Big D, how many wipes do you give this movie?
So I think at its core, Showgirls is a brilliant lampoon of the American dream. It also mirrors the audience to showing us the flaws in our own notions of success and ambition, not to mention art and sexuality. It's reflected regularly throughout the movie that the female character's duality and the parallels and twinships, as well as the actual mirrors in the set decoration. But the most important example of duality is the layers of perceptionist film. No, fuck that. This movie is a 5. It is terrible. There is nothing behind it. It is garbage. It is a 5 white movie.
I was just going to say, this is the deepest, most meaningful review this movie's ever gotten. Where the fuck is he going with this?
How many wipes do you give it?
This is a 5 wipe movie. This is a 5.
The dualities and the parallels and twinship. No, fuck this pile of shit.
Kerri, how many wipes?
I couldn't say it better. This is worse than Dog Chow. This is a fucking 5 white movie.
You don't even need to explain it.
You guys really are giving
that's it.
2
I have
5s?
nothing.
Really?
5s. Here he comes with his 0.5.
He misses us like that lump on my twat I had taken off last week.
Here's my problem with this movie. On one hand, I do believe that they were going for a dark comedy satire on the entertainment industry.
Nope.
I do think that there are deeper layers to this movie that probably were not executed the way that they should have been. That being said, it's not a great movie. It goes off the rail quickly. However, I've seen The Room. The Room is a terrible movie. I at least was somewhat entertained here, and it was done it was competently done, even though there is terrible acting in this movie by Elizabeth Berkley. But I do believe that she went for the character. She went for it, and she's out there giving it 100%. So for that, I can't completely say this is a 5 wipe movie, but it is pretty shitty. I'm gonna give it 4 wipes.
Hey, what's that give us?
Garbage.
So with a rank of 4.6 repeating as our average Shat score, Big D, where does that rank Showgirls in the pantheon of Shat?
So that now puts that down in the 68 spot. The only movie that's worse than it is Willow with a 4.83.
Yeah.
And better movies are Predator 2, 10 Things I Hate About You, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. So it's down there at the bottom where I think it belongs.
I'm going to say that I disagree with you. I would much rather watch Showgirls again than any of those movies you just said. So
of course, because you're getting a little tingling in your little boy shorts and you're going to touch yourself.
Well, now's the time where we give our shout outs. and talk about the next movie that we're going to be doing. Big D, what is a shout out?
Well, a shout out is the thing that Gene normally does, and Gene has access to it. He looks it up, and he didn't add it today, so we're going to have to throw them in next week. But I can tell you what movie we're doing next.
Yeah, what movie are we doing next?
So next week's category will be robot movies. And the contenders were Cyborg, batteries not included, The Iron Giant, Short Circuit, RoboCop, Terminator 2, and we
not
got
Terminator 2. We've already done Terminator
1.
2.
Terminator
the
1.
First Terminator.
Yeah, and we got almost 1,300 votes. So if you want to stay tuned at the end to hear the trailer for the movie that's coming up, I think you'll enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm really here's the problem that I have with the winner is that there's other movies that we should be doing, like Short Circuit and RoboCop.
Wait, what did you? Spoiler alert here!
Spoiler alert! Short Circuit, RoboCop don't win. Which
Cyborg
really
might have come in there. Come on.
Yeah, which really bums me out because I feel like Short Circuit deserves
the Iron Giant
to be done on this podcast. So anyway,
no, it's the will of the people.
Well,
but we do have.
Yeah, you can buy that will, is what we're saying.
Yes. And even though we don't have any shout outs here, I wanted to again thank everyone who's supporting the podcast. We got a real surprise this week from one of our longtime listeners, Richard R., who sent us a generous donation, which was really nice. And he wrote us, he said, I've been listening to since Westworld Season 1. I enjoy every week. I'd love it if you guys could review a mid-90s horror film, In the Mouth of Madness, starring Sam Neill. But you deserve the donation regardless. Can't wait for Season 2 of Westworld. But Richard, your donation was so generous, and you've been a nice supporter of the podcast for so long that we will be doing your movie after our robot movie next week, In the Mouth of Madness. So thank you very much for the generous donation. We appreciate it, and it helps us keep doing what we're doing, and it keeps the lights on.
Also want to thank Kerri Gross for filling in for Gene Lyons.
Always a pleasure.
Kerri also is going to be doing, I think, another episode filling in for me as I've got to go out of town for work. Glad to have you back. We missed you. That concludes this week's episode of Shat the Movies. Be sure to follow us on social media and share with a friend. We're everywhere, including Twitter, Snapchat, and Instagram. You can also search us on Facebook, Shat the Movies Podcast. Our website is shatthemovies.com. Our email address where you can send in your movie ideas or your donations is hosts@shatthemovies.com. We're everywhere fine podcasts can be found, including iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube. Be sure to subscribe. And if you stop by, please leave a 5-star review. That helps the podcast grow. Also, check us out over on our sister podcast, Shat on TV, where we review television series such as Westworld, Taboo, American Gods, and Game of Thrones. You can check out all the information at shatontv.com. On behalf of my co-host, Big D, Kerri Gross, and Gene Lyons, I am Roger Roper. Be sure to join us next week for our review of this movie. Take care, good night, and good luck.
In the 21st century, a weapon will be invented like no other. This weapon will be powerful, versatile, and indestructible. It can't be reasoned with. It can't be bargained with. It will feel no pity, no remorse, no pain, no fear. It will have only one.
I'm here to help you. I'm Reese, DN 38416, assigned to protect you. You've been targeted for termination.
What does it want me? Why me?
Arnold Schwarzenegger is the Terminator. Your future is in its hands.